Hello, I'm Joey Haskins, and welcome back to You've Never Seen, in which I showcase a movie you've probably never seen before. And welcome to our third episode of our DCAU Retrospectives, where we're kind of taking a bit of a step down in Batman Beyond. The WB wanted a new Batman series in the wake of the dwindling ratings the new Batman Adventures got, even forcing Bruce Timm and his team to end Superman so they can put all their cards on this new Batman show. The execs just had one request for them. They wanted a teenage Batman, implying they want Bruce to be a teenager in this new series. And almost immediately, the same team, including Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Alan Burnett, and the rest, were dreading it. However, art director Glenn Murakami thought it was an idea that could help them explore newer ways of telling superhero stories. After Bruce Timm and the rest of the crew were convinced, they had little to no time to make it. They were still working on both Batman and Superman while this was happening, and the show was supposed to premiere not long after those two shows had ended. But they did manage to come up with an idea, where an older Bruce in a more futuristic Gotham would teach a young kid to be the new Batman, aptly titled Batman Beyond. And for a new character, it needs a new voice. Kevin Conroy would return to voice Bruce again, albeit a much more cranky Bruce.
I may not have the leverage on paper anymore, but I still have friends. The Foxes were a valued part of this company for years. I'd hate to find out Wayne Powers was involved in these attacks.
But Andrea Romano, the voice director for all the shows we're going to be covering, was recommended to test Will Friedle from Boy Meets World. He plays Terry McGinnis, the new character in this series, and he fits in the show greatly.
Full drag, I got you beat. Funny, you remind me of a Joker I met this morning, except he was prettier.
He has excellent chemistry with Kevin Conroy and does well in playing a new Batman.
This suit looks even better than I thought it would.
This is your last chance. Better take it.
No thanks. Having too much fun.
Fun, huh?
But as I said before, it is a step down, and it's mostly because Batman the Animated Series had set the bar so high. But the show does get off to a great start. Terry McGinnis, a teenage bad boy, often gets in trouble at school and can't seem to get a handle on his life no matter how much his father may encourage him. But his father has inadvertently gotten involved in shady dealings by one half of the new Powers Wayne Corporation, Derek Powers. This is where Terry meets the other half of that corporation, Bruce Wayne, who is now a recluse in his mansion with his dog Ace and a severe amount of heart problems.
Who do you think you're talking to, old man? We're the Jokers!
Sure you are.
Terry eventually finds out he's Batman, but is soon kept out of Bruce's life. That is, until Terry finds his father was killed and suspects that Derek Powers had done it. So Terry breaks into the Batcave and steals a newer, tech-enhanced Batsuit. Terry's actions, while aggressive and stupid, do get results and show Bruce his potential. And Derek Powers gets involved in an accident which causes his skin to decay and start to glow, soon calling himself Blight. Terry is brought in as Bruce's assistant to make an excuse to his mother and younger brother, and Bruce becomes more involved with his company again. That's the basic plot for the two-parter series premiere, Rebirth, and it's a good premiere. It makes you like Terry and establishes all the things you need to know. I've already mentioned Terry's mom, Mary, played by the late great Terry Garr, his younger brother, Matt, and Terry's kind of girlfriend, Dana, played by Lauren Tom. Blight is played brilliantly by Sherman Howard, and is one of the highlights of the series.
Find this Batman and kill him.
He has an accomplice. I heard him speak with someone over a radio link.
Then do them both.
I think the major problems with the series as a whole is the lack of atmosphere. There's no real indication what kind of world this new Gotham is. It's clear that there's a lot of ideas and things implied, but they don't expand on it. The world kind of reminds me of Blade Runner. All these new buildings and attractions surrounded by remnants of the past. But again, it's never explored, and that may be partially because this show was rushed and meant to sell toys. Yeah, the whole point of this show was to sell new Batman toys, and that'd play a part in the second and third seasons. But no matter the season, the theme song is still awesome. It's designed mostly by one of my favorite comic artists, Darwin Cook. But now that we've talked about the first episode, let's talk about the episodes you should watch. Blackout introduces a new iconic character in the series, the thief, Ink. She's a villain who can bend her shape and physiology at will and is a lot of fun. She's so much fun, she manages to break into the Batcave in her first episode, with Bruce taking some action and stopping her. The episode also introduces us to a prominent side character, the new police commissioner, Barbara Gordon, played by Stockard Channing.
Word is you've wrangled a new errand boy.
I never wrangled anyone. Every one of you came to me.
Maybe once you should talk someone out of it.
Would it have worked with you?
The series has many new characters, and while I do like that the creators kept it original, I kind of wish they brought in some of the old characters. It would have been nice to see what's been going on with Poison Ivy, or Scarecrow, or Clayface. But for the ones they did bring back, they were pretty good. The best one is, of course, Meltdown. Powers is given the opportunity to fix his skin condition by transferring his mind into a new body. But while the treatment is untested, they have the perfect subject, Mr. Freeze, now just a disembodied head. He does get his life back on track in his new body, but it quickly goes south fast and Freeze returns to his old ways.
Freeze! How?
It's something I've kept in cold storage.
This is the last time we'll see Mr. Freeze in the DCAU, and for a character that had a lot of impact in the show's success, it's a fantastic farewell to the character.
With all his injuries and that cracked helmet, no way he got out.
It could have been worse. He could have blown up the whole compound like he intended, killed hundreds.
Guess you were right about Freeze all along?
We both were.
Shriek introduces a new villain based on sound. Walter Shreve is goaded by Blight into eliminating Bruce. By using specific sound waves that make Bruce hear voices, Terry is able to track down Shriek and fight the villain in his unique outfit. We'll be covering all of the episodes that feature Shriek, and his skill set is unique enough in every appearance, with this one being a perfect introduction.
Tell me something. Why were you so sure those voices weren't coming from you?
Well, first, I know I'm not psychotic.
I hope your other reason's more convincing.
And second, the voice kept calling me Bruce. In my mind, that's not what I call myself.
What do you call yourself? Oh yeah, I suppose you would. But that's my name now.
Tell that to my subconscious.
Dead Man's Hand introduces a group of classic DC villains, the Royal Flush Gang, consisting of Father, King, played by George Lazenby, Mother, Queen, son, Jack, daughter, 10, and android, Ace. 10 is the first of many girls in the series Terry romances while still kinda being with Dana, but she's probably my favorite. The Royal Flush Gang are a lot of fun and don't appear as often as I'd want them to. Spellbound introduces another villain for Terry, Spellbinder. He has the ability to create very realistic illusions, mainly preying on the kids of rich people to steal their belongings, with Terry trying to stop him. Spellbinder's full backstory does explain his motivation more and ties into a theme of this season, the crimes and powers of the rich and prominent. We'll also be covering all of Spellbinder's episodes, so there's a lot to see of him. Disappearing Ink sees the return of Ink, who is freed by some creep with a one-sided obsession with her. The stuff with Ink is fine, but the real good stuff is between Bruce and Terry. Bruce had many countermeasures in staying as a vigilante, one of which is a giant bat mech, which Bruce uses when Terry is caught by the villain. It's a nice episode that strengthens Bruce and Terry's relationship more. A Touch of Curare sees Barbara's husband hunted by an assassin, and she tries to get help from Batman. Curare is a villain that is cool, but they never fully expand upon, which is a real shame. But we also get some good chemistry between Barbara and Terry. She mentions that she and Bruce were an item way back when, which I personally hate. But there are some subtle mentions of an incident that happened between the Bat family that tore them apart. Ascension is the conclusion on the Blight stuff. Powers' skin has gotten so bad he tries to get help from his son, who in the end betrays him, causing Powers to go full Blight. The fight between Terry and Blight is great, and it's sad this is the last episode with Blight in it. He won't return beyond this episode because the show would switch perspectives to focus more on Terry's high school life rather than the themes of corrupt corporations the first season had. But while there's a step down in quality in seasons 2 and 3, there are still some good episodes. Splicers sees a new element introduced in the form of splicing, combining human DNA with animal DNA. While Batman investigates, things quickly go bad when Terry gets spliced and turns into a bat monster. It's a good episode that harkens back to original Batman adventures and some good body horror as a bonus. Earthmover has a friend of Terry be hunted by a monster made of soil. But as he pokes through it more, he discovers more about his friend, Jackie, and her father, who has been keeping a dark secret from her. It's again another episode that uses its art and style to make a good brand of horror for the series. Lost Soul follows a man who's been digitized into a computer. As he becomes more acclimated to the world, he sets his sights on Batman's unique suit. It's a good episode that does see Terry operate without his advantages and just use his innate skills. We get a couple episodes like that, with Terry having to use his wits, but this one is definitely a highlight. Hidden Agenda introduces a new character in the fold. A student friend of Terry's, Max, is a super genius master hacker who has become the ace student of her class, much to the disdain of Carter, the second place student. As Carter uses a disguise to terrorize her life, Max uses her intuition into thinking Terry is the one messing with her. And while she does end up wrong, she does figure out Terry is Batman, becoming a side character for the rest of the series. Max is an okay character. She was created to draw in a more female fan base, which never really happened. She's played by the ever-awesome Cree Summer and has a unique look and personality, but she often is just a side character, and they rarely expand on her at all.
You told me you had a free evening. Did the great Mr. Wayne snap his fingers for you again? Or did you just forget? I'm sorry, Dana. It was my fault. I was supposed to sit with Matt, but I had to cancel, and Terry got stuck babysitting.
Bloodsport introduces a new character in the form of Stalker. He's a hunter who has grown tired of hunting every animal and settles on a new prey, Batman. And he gets pretty close to beating him, even stealing Terry's brother when he discovers he cares about him. Stalker is also voiced by Carl Lumbly, who will be appearing a lot in subsequent series down the road.
Impressive. You've drawn first blood. Now it's my turn.
Hooked Up is another episode involving Spellbinder. He develops a virtual reality that can create a person's fantasy that's so real they'll do anything to continue them. But things get worse when Max becomes one of the victims. Max takes a step up in this episode, which does lead her to being the one to take down Spellbinder. It's honestly pretty nice. Babel is the second Shriek episode. He releases a frequency that is able to make each person hear only gibberish from other people.
Drumfiend, Drumfiend!
That's not gonna do any good, Dave. Pluton Sombring. Knockpen?
The city's going crazy.
Shelterman Virquois.
Communication between everyone in Gotham breaks down, causing mass panic. And he will only stop it by being given Batman. It's a good episode with some great stakes in it. Eyewitness is probably one of the best episodes of the series. What starts as a routine bombing by anarchist Joe villain Mad Stan turns haywire when Barbara sees Terry kill him. With Terry unsure of what happened and the GCPD hunting him down, only Bruce can figure out what's really going on. And once you're able to figure it out, it leads to a solid climax for the episode. The Last Resort shows promotions for a special school for kids who ignore their responsibilities. But when Terry's friends lose all communication from there, he goes to investigate and discovers something much more sinister. This episode does feel more like a Season 1 outing, and it does have Terry help people with more moral dilemmas. Sneak Peek introduces a reporter who can phase through solid objects and gets exclusive scoops nobody else can. And with this advantage, he discovers both Terry and Bruce's secrets. But when things go awry right as he's about to tell the world, both Terry and Bruce do what they can to stop him, even going to extreme lengths. Zeta introduces a new character in the form of Zeta. He's an android made by the government with the ability to take down anything and make himself look like anyone. But when he goes rogue, not wanting to follow the government's orders, he and Terry cross paths.
Why so nice all of a sudden?
It is not all of a sudden. I have taken great care not to injure you.
Being held hostage isn't exactly 5-star treatment.
This detainment was necessary.
Why? What are you after?
My freedom.
Zeta would get his own show after this, and we won't be talking about it because I can't really seem to find it anywhere, and I also don't really care. Where's Terry sees him going down an abandoned train station with Shriek testing new equipment creating tremors. Tremors that eventually cause him to be trapped. So Bruce and Max have to team up to track Terry down while he befriends an underground drifter. We get some good stuff with Bruce this episode, including a little bit where he fights, and he's got some good chemistry with Max. Ace in the Hole tells the origin of Bruce's dog, Ace. He was kidnapped as a pup and became an illegal fighting dog. Having escaped from that, he was found by Bruce while honoring his parents in Crime Alley. Now his kidnapper is back and using drugs to create stronger fighting animals. It's a great episode that does focus on animal cruelty and specifically drug use, and that drug use theme is something we'll be talking more about next week. Inkling sees the return of Ink as we discover more of her origin. She had been doing all of her crimes to support her daughter, and when her powers become unstable, Ink goes to her for help. I like this expansion into Ink's character, and it's nice to see her after not at all seeing her in Season 2. Out of the Past is another episode that has a returning Batman villain. Well, kinda. Bruce, feeling his age more so than before, gets a visit from Talia. Talia this time around is played by the late great Olivia Hussey.
Terry, this is Talia, an old friend. Talia.
I've been aware of Mr. McGinnis for some time. With the new Batman in action, I knew he had to be someone close to you. Terry was the only candidate.
I've heard about you too. You're the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, one of the old man's worst enemies from way back.
Though father's name was pronounced Raish, not Raz. A common mistake.
Ra's al Ghul has long been dead, and Talia has mastered the Lazarus Pit. So much so that she offers Bruce the ability to be young forever, with Bruce agreeing. But when things seem suspicious, they find out that there's other things at play. Although the episode does get a little interesting, it's a nice conclusion to the Al Ghuls, as this is the last time we'll see them in the DCAU. The last episode we're talking about today is the two-parter, The Call. Terry is brought on as the newest member of the Justice League Unlimited, consisting of Superman, played by Christopher McDonald, Green Lantern, played by Lauren Tom, one of my favorite DC heroes, Big Barda, played by Farrah Fork, Warhawk, played by Peter Honorati, and Aquagirl, played conveniently by Jodie Benson.
Batman was one of the League's founding members.
The real Batman, not this pointy-eared punk.
I thought we were a team. Slaves on Apocalypse are treated with more respect.
Please, anger just clouds the issue.
Does it? My beak tells me this stinks.
I'm afraid Barda and Warhawk have a point. No offense.
This isn't up for discussion. Like it or not, Batman stays.
Terry is asked to join because another member, Micron, was sabotaged on a mission and almost died, with Superman thinking it's one of the League that did it. Although Terry is excited to be there, none of the other members are eager to have him. But Terry is able to figure out who the traitor is when they seemingly kill Warhawk. Superman. So, surprise surprise, Warhawk isn't dead, but he does help confirm Terry's findings. So the rest of the League head to the Fortress of Solitude and discover what's infected Superman. This thing. This is Starro the Conqueror. So in a clever way of world building, Starro was a creature on the Preserver ship in the Superman episode The Main Man. He was the last of his species and taken by the alien, but was freed when Superman stopped him. And don't forget Lobo was also there. No love for my guy? Anyway, he bided his time in the fortress and clinged onto Superman when it was right. Now, Starro has made more of himself and is going to take over the planet. It's a brilliant episode, one of the best in the series, with some great action and a nice introduction to the Justice League, who we'll be talking about in the next few weeks. And that ends the show of Batman Beyond, but let's briefly talk about the Batman Beyond movie that came out shortly after Season 2. Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. In it, Terry and Bruce must grapple with the fact that the Joker has somehow returned. The Joker this time around also has a brand new and much better look than his previous design. This is the design that they'll use for the character for the remainder of his appearances in the DCAU. The film in and of itself is alright, but the real meat of the movie is in the 10-minute flashback sequence. Remember that event that I said tore apart the Bat family? This is that event. Okay, so way back when Bruce was Batman, Tim Drake was kidnapped by the Joker, tortured, brainwashed into a little Joker, and if that wasn't bad enough, told him that Bruce is Batman. The Joker now holds all the cards and can't help but laugh at Bruce's pathetic crusade.
And the dear lad began to share such secrets with me. Secrets that are mine alone to know. Bruce. It's true, Batsy. I know everything. And kinda like the kid who peeks at his Christmas presents, I must admit, it sadly anticlimactic. Behind all the sturm and batarangs, you're just a little boy in a play suit crying for mommy and daddy. It'd be funny if it weren't so pathetic. No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway. If you don't like the movie, I've got slides.
This leads to an awesome fight with Batman on his knees. The last cruel joke being Joker forcing Tim to shoot Bruce. But in the last spark of hope, Tim instead shoots the Joker, killing him. The scene has gone viral many times in the past, and you may have seen it, but if you haven't seen the unrated version, it's worth the watch. Hell, the whole film is worth the watch just for those 10 minutes of flashback. And real quickly, before we close this episode, I want to talk about another Batman film. Batman Mystery of the Batwoman is a film I forgot to talk about in the Batman episode, so I'm mentioning it here. Basically, a new vigilante called Batwoman arrives in Gotham, and Bruce tries to figure out who it is, while she encroaches on the territory of several of Gotham's criminals. The audience will watch the film and immediately figure out that Batwoman is one of 3 suspects. Kathy, the daughter of a rich gangster played by Kimberly Brooks, Rocky, a scientist at Wayne Tech played by Kelly Ripa, and Sonia, a new officer at the GCPD played by Elisa Gabrielli. The mystery is honestly pretty good and it kept me guessing till the end. And thus ends Batman Beyond. Although most of it went off the rails, it's still a pretty good series. However, while they were going for a more kid-friendly show, it didn't get the ratings the executives wanted, even with all the changes they thought would improve audience interaction. Still, Batman Beyond grew a cult audience, and rightfully so. There's a lot of potential for the series and a lot to like about it. There were even plans to make a Batman Beyond animated movie. But because life doesn't want us to have nice things, it was never fully realized. Batman Beyond has earned a legacy that is beloved by many. And with Batman Beyond's ending, Bruce Timm and his team would start work on their Justice League show. But before we talk about that, there's one other show to discuss. One that has more of a cult status than Batman Beyond. Join me next week as we talk about Static Shock. With Weston Media Center, I'm Joey Haskins, and I'll see you all next time.